Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Gig Money Podcast. We talk to musicians about the side hustles that they use to fund their musical ambitions. I am Cody.
And I'm Andrew.
And today, our guest on the podcast is none other than Myles Clayborne. Myles Clayborne.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on the show. We definitely appreciate you coming on and talking with us about the side hustles that you do to keep yourself on the road. So I know that you've been with Saul. You are the drummer for Saul, and you've been with them for a couple of years. But Andrew and I were talking about it before the show, and we'd like to know a little bit more about the history there.
Yeah. So kind of flashback to 2018. I moved from Columbus, Ohio, down to Kansas City, Missouri. Was living there. I was playing in a band at the time called Renegades. And we actually were going on a tour with a band from out in New Jersey called Inventure. And hilariously enough, Saul came down and they were our direct support in KC, like on the kickoff show for that tour. And so we did the tour, it was all fun and games. The band breaks up like 6 months later.
As bands do.
As bands do. But I think it was about a year later than that, I get hit up from Zach and then Blake and then their former manager, like all within like a span of 5 minutes. And they were like, "Hey, what are you doing? Are you still playing drums?" Because I was posting a bunch of guitar videos at that point. I was like, "Yeah, I'm just not playing in the band right now." And they were like, "Well, you're in luck because we need a drummer." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So they had me come up and audition. And it was supposed to be for the Hell Yeah and All That Remains tour that was in 2020, in April, I believe it was. And that got canned as soon as COVID kind of went rampant across the nation. But that was a good time. We hit it off at the show that they came down and were direct support for, and we were talking about their gear because they straight up came down and wiped the floor with every band that played that night. They came in, they had they had their racks set up. They weren't coming down basically like as direct support. They were like, "No, like we're here to like throw down." Like came with their full lighting rig and everything, and we were just kind of like, "What the heck? We gotta follow that."
Yes, consummate professionals.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that drew me to the band. I was just like, dude, these guys are working at a level that I want to be at, and that hit me. I was just like, that's what we should be doing. That's how we should be like conducting ourselves at shows for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the funny thing is that my knowledge of the band Saul starts with playing a show with them several years ago. And the band I was in at the time had a show the next weekend. And so we didn't want to oversaturate. We wanted to do something interesting and unique and something that might draw some people out because we got the show offer to open up for them in Salt Lake City. And we listened to them like, these guys are awesome. And we would like to be on the show. We just want to make sure that we give everybody a reason to come out. That's not like, hey, you're going to see us next weekend anyways. Right. So we decided that we were going to stuff a set with cover songs, mostly Bullet for My Valentine. And then collectively, we were all going to throw on the most ridiculous 80s costumes that we could find, including wigs. As bands do.
Nice.
And we marketed it as Mullet for My Valentine. And I was we were really just trying to get the most people out to that shows on a Sunday night in Utah of all places where, it's got a very religious state. So we were just trying to bring people out and have a good time and, do something fun. And that was my introduction to them. And they showed up and just like you said, they blew everybody away with their professionalism, with their gear and the way they presented themselves and their merch setup and everything. It was just very inspiring to me. So I've been following the Bedsall guys since then. And man, it's incredible what they and you have accomplished together. So yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
And you guys have you guys have some stuff coming up, right? I know you are right in between the legs of a tour with Red,
which is a great place to be.
Yeah.
As bands do.
As bands do. No, we were on the road with Red, had the first leg in September. That was our kind of like our first run with the guys, first time meeting the guys. That run was incredible. All the shows were pretty well packed. So we had a great time with that. Had great shows every night, great merch shows every night. So we were taking this month to just kind of chill out, get some work done, hang out, and then we're back out with them again on the 3rd, I believe, and we go until the 18th or 19th of next month.
Yeah, I know. I'm definitely catching the Dallas portion of that show, that tour. So
yes,
looking forward to that. So anybody that's listening, definitely make it out to one of those shows. You will not be disappointed. And this is you're right in between the legs. As
mm-hmm.
you say, you probably gotten pretty close with some of the guys in the crew on that particular tour package. So it's interesting because another musician that was coming up with Andrew and I in the Salt Lake City music scene was Brian Medeiros, and he did a lot of really interesting stuff. But now he's the drummer for Red. So awesome guy, man. He's the coolest guy. And so
he is literally
I was interested.
The nicest dude.
Yeah. So I was interested to hear a little bit about your experiences with him, just, as a mutual acquaintance. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, like it was awesome. Like he was like from day one, just the most stand up awesome guy. He was always like super accommodating. Like if we were just like, hey, like, is it cool if we use the shower in the room? Like, oh yeah, dude, no, go ahead. You're good. Go for it. As long as we're not in there, obviously. Like, so that was pretty cool. And then like he didn't have a drum tech for this tour. And so like it was kind of humbling to see, they roll up in a Prevost and everything, but then like they're the ones setting all their gear up. They're all in there from the start. So that was really awesome to see. And I was just like, wow, like not everybody goes out and hires 15 crew members for a tour, So that was kind of awesome to be like, like these guys are like way above us, but they still, have those roots as far as we still like to keep our hands on our own stuff pretty much. So that was cool, kind of getting to watch all that unfold, and then just kind of getting to bro down with the guys, and in particular, like, drummer to drummer was always cool. And we just take turns watching each other most nights. So, and he got sick there for a little bit halfway through the run. I think it was just kind of like constantly changing in climates. They haven't toured in a while. So I'm sure that was kind of a shock to the system a bit, but regardless, they threw down every single night. So like, it was awesome. I had a great time.
Nice. Yeah, that's great to hear. I definitely have lots of respect for them. And I think it's interesting, like you said, that they didn't have a fully stocked kind of crew to, go through a tour of that size. And who knows what the reason behind that might be. But I imagine those guys all have side hustles of their own that they have to work just to, kind of keep paying the bills and doing what they want to do, making that music, playing the shows.
I'm guessing so. I wouldn't know. We didn't really talk too much about life off of the road. Besides, they did have a guitar tech, an LD, and a front of house guy. So they did have all those, but like even the guitar tech, the only thing me and him talked about most of the time was just motorcycles. So.
Yes, that is something that we can discuss, because Andrew is a bit of a aficionado himself.
A bit of an enthusiast. Yes,
a bit of an enthusiast.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Miles, you just got your first bike, or?
Yep, first bike ever that I'm currently still fixing.
All right, tell us a little bit about it, and Andrew, try not to drool on your microphone too much.
He's not going to drool over this one. It's just it was a stock Harley Davidson Iron 883.
Okay. Yeah.
The only thing that's not stock. Well, it's not stock anymore. Like the pipes are now like some Bass and Hines shorties. Sound really good. Yeah. Switched out the bars from 8-inch risers to 10-inch risers. Changed out the clutch cables, throttle cables, foot pegs, shifters, rear brake pedal, all that stuff. So next, I'm just going to change out the seat, because that stock seat is uncomfortable.
Yes. Yes, they are. Yeah, I've got a 2007 Road King that's it's a lot of fun, and it's rather customized. I tore down all the tins and had it all painted all nice. Got to have flames on everything, makes it faster.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
It's horsepower.
Absolutely.
Andrew was telling me earlier. It makes it faster. Andrew was telling me earlier about how he has to manage his beard while he's riding, and it changes depending on which one of his Harleys that he's riding on. So
yeah,
you were saying
if I'm riding without a windshield, this is what it does, and it's fine when it does this, right? But if I'm riding with the windshield, it does this the entire time, and it's really hard. Yeah, it's really hard to look like you're really, like you're a tough guy when you're trying not to sneeze because you've got hair going in your nose and stuff. So you're just riding and you're like.
So for everybody listening and not watching, when Andrew rides without a windshield, his beard, which is all the way down to his belt, goes behind his head, off to the sides, and it looks really cool. And when you're riding with a windshield, it goes directly into his face.
Yes,
so you can imagine how crazy that much beard can be when you're trying to drive down the interstate, and you have a face full of beard.
The cool thing about it is when it's the opposite way, it looks like a beard cape, like, a superhero. So that's pretty cool. But yeah.
Oh, man. I've got a buddy of mine that's got a really long beard that he braids. And whenever he rides, he actually unzips his jacket and tucks it into his jacket.
Sometimes you gotta do that. Like even if when I do have the windshield on and I have to, somehow handle this thing, put it in a way that it's more manageable. That does happen where I have to just stuff it in a shirt or in a jacket or something, because the little wispies, a lot of people don't think about, because your beard isn't all one length. There's the little ones, and those little ones are even the worst ones because they get like right at the end of your nose. And they just start tickling, and you're just like, "Oh, stop it! Oh, stop it!" You're teasing me, It's just,
oh man,
okay. I think I just divulged way too much information about myself.
Belly laughing all the way down the freeway from being nose tickled by your beard hairs. Yeah,
exactly. It's really hard to look like a tough man when you're being tickled by your nose. I do have a story though about drum techs. And I know this takes us back just a little bit, but I was working security for it was a country jam thing. I don't like country bands, so they put me in the backstage area. So, hopefully I wouldn't have to hear it and be subjected to that torture. So this guy, he's the drummer for Sugarland, or he was the drummer for Sugarland, right? And he pushes his set, because it's on a riser with wheels. He pushes his set off the stage and kind of over by me. And I'm looking at him, and he's got like all these like skulls and like zombies, tattoos all over his arms and everything. And I'm all, you don't look like a typical country western drummer. And he's like, no, I like metal. I like rock. He says, but you want to make money, you got to go to Nashville. And I'm like, okay, well, that's pretty cool. And then I'm watching him, and he's tearing his drums down. And I'm thinking, for a band of that caliber, why is he doing that himself? So I asked him, I says, hey, just out of curiosity, don't you have a guy that does that for you? And he's all, yeah, I do. He says, I fired him. I'm like, okay, why? And he says, it's a custom kit. It's a completely custom kit. And he says, it has to get all put away. And one of the pieces didn't get put away. And it was a very important part of my drum set. And he says, that next show that we had, when we went to go find that part, put my drum kit together, it wasn't there. And he says it made him angry. So he's like, if I need to be angry at somebody, it's going to be at myself. So therefore I do it myself. So they actually had to go to a blacksmith, like a local blacksmith in the area, for them to make something for him to use on his drum set for that night.
Wow.
And he was like, and it's that piece right there. I was like, looks like it belongs on the kit.
Local blacksmith with a touring in ancient England or something.
I was going to say
Right.
Slovakia. Like, oh, you're awake. Freaking Skyrim.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Oh,
I just
man.
actually
Hither, young man.
completed.
How shall I help you today in your quest?
Side quest, yeah.
Took an arrow to the
I've
knee.
got a side quest for that day. Oh, man, that's great.
Sorry, that was my
Oh,
story about drums. So
yeah, no, he's got a really good point there. Like, remember the band Siler?
Yes.
So Cody Ash, who was the former drummer for Siler, plays drums for Jelly Roll now.
okay.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I believe Pablo from Chelsea Grin's also out playing with a country artist right now. So,
Yeah, Pablo is a SLC Utah native, just like us, and actually did record a few songs with him in a previous band of mine. He's an awesome guy,
Dang.
and yeah, I mean, you got to go where the money is, and that's that's why we're here. We're talking about musicians and how they got to make that money to survive, even if you got to play drums in a country band.
There's also another guy from Chelsea Grin who, so they are a Utah band, or they were formed in Utah, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy that is in Chelsea Grin, and we'll probably interview him on a future episode, but he actually cleans those Prevos, those buses, in between gigs, in between shows. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Because my boy works at that place and he fixes the Prevos. He does, they call him coach maintenance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he does all this coach maintenance, and I was telling him about what we're doing here with the side hustles, and he's like, yeah, there's a guy from Chelsea Grin who comes over and cleans the buses. I'm all, cool.
Got to make that money somehow.
Yeah.
So
no kidding.
Speaking of which, Myles, what are you doing these days to keep paying your bills so that you can stay out on the road?
So my main gig is music and my side gig is music. So like you're familiar with my side gig. Well, actually technically Saul would be my side gig at the moment because it's much less frequent than what I do when I'm home, which is where I'm at currently. So my main gig is just, writing and recording, vocal features, drum programming, drum editing, mixing and mastering, all that stuff. So I do all of that whenever I'm at home. And then whenever Saul gets the call, I go out on the road and tour.
Yeah. You've definitely worked yourself into that position though over many years, and I've seen it. You are a hardworking guy. And for anybody who's not familiar, Myles is actually the vocalist on all of the Gray Marsh recordings, except for one feature from our buddy Brandon Johnson, who will be on the podcast pretty soon. So that episode is coming up quick. But yeah, I just commend you on working so hard and just being so good at your craft that you can make music your full-time gig. That's a lot of people don't get to that point, but I know you have the talent and the drive to do it. So, that's why we wanted to have you on. Talk about that. Talk about how any aspiring musicians out there might be able to get to that point where they can just do music for a living, because that's the dream, right?
Yeah, no, that's definitely the dream. And it's honestly it's presented a lot more roadblocks so far than advantages. But like you don't do this because it's going to be easy, So like the saying goes, nothing worth doing is easy. But so there's been issues, there's been problems, there's been hiccups here and there, but at the end of the day, I still get to wake up and start my day playing Call of Duty, and then just meander into the studio and work on music.
Excellent.
So,
Call of Duty music.
Yeah, Call of Duty music and Chinese food from DoorDash is usually what my day usually looks like.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good day. But it wasn't always that way. It wasn't always music and having a somewhat normal life, door dashing food and enjoying your mornings. What are some of the side hustles that you have done in the past?
So I didn't really even start doing music full time until I joined Saul. Just because I realized with the amount of touring that we were doing, I couldn't have a stable job at home. Nobody was going to be like, yeah, you can go ahead and leave for a month. You come back whenever you're ready. Like, unless you have, years on that job that they know you. And so for a long time there, I was just kind of going off and on with Amazon. Like I'd apply because like they don't even care about interviews or anything like that. Like, they really don't look at your resume. They're just like, do you have a pulse? Yeah. All right. Do all your limbs work? Yep. All right. Here you go. You're good to go. So like that was just like I'd like get to the last like 2 weeks of tour, and then I'd jump on. I'd put an application in for Amazon so that by the time I got back, I'd have like 3 days, and then I would go in for my first day, and I'd have to go through all the training all over again. But then I would do that for a couple months until the next tour came around. Then I moved out here, and then I was driving for Amazon for a little while. So I was doing that, and then it was a lot of warehouses. Worked for an alcohol distributor, which was probably my favorite job ever. If I ever move back to Kansas City, I'm going to do that again, because we had what was called Free Pallet Fridays, which was everything that got sent back from the stores that we distributed to. They were like, well, we can't put this back out on the shelves, so take your pick. And I would just go home with like 3 cases of whatever I wanted that weekend.
Nice. Man, I could save so much money.
Perks. I know, right?
Right there.
Yeah, I'm just like, dude, I got introduced to so many different beers and like drafts and like some really awesome kind of like IPAs. And I was just like, this is the life. This is nice here. And then you'd have those days where people would drop a whole case of Fireball on the floor and you'd be mopping for 6 hours.
Oh, yeah, that shit's sticky.
Yeah. Whole place smelling like cinnamon.
Yeah.
But no, like it was like literally a lot of warehouse jobs. I drove for DoorDash for a little bit, did Uber Eats when I was in Kansas City. Then when I moved back to Ohio, about 2021, I moved back to Ohio. And that was kind of when I started doing the studio thing, like trying to start doing it full time. Because my main thing was I just got sick and tired of constantly starting new jobs. It got annoying, like it was like I was moving to a new city every time I came back from tour, basically. So I was like going to a different job every single time and meeting new people and just being like, yeah, I'm not going to be here long. I'm just passing through, to where like I do this and I'm just like, if I write music and I, program and I do this, I can pack essentially my entire job up into a laptop, an interface, a guitar, and a set of headphones and just go. Like I can do this from the road. I could like when I moved into my apartment, my studio was the first thing I set up. Because I'm just like, I can just put my mattress on the floor in there and I can just come in here and make money to get my apartment moved into while I'm waiting on everything else to happen. And so that just, this whole thing kind of came in that, the movie The Dark Knight, of course. Heath Ledger.
I'm not familiar. What is this?
Oh, yes.
Oh, you.
Oh, right.
You.
Right.
No, but like as he says, man, if you're good at something, never do it for free. And I was just like, I'm sitting here writing music, and I was like, I had like a catalog of I think of like 40 tracks that I had just randomly written instrumentals for. And when COVID hit, I was like, hey, I've been writing all these songs, and I remember someone hit me up, and they were like, hey, can I buy that from you? And I went, excuse me? And they're like, yeah, I'll give you like $200 for that track right now. And I was just like, okay, yeah, please, that's cool. And like that was kind of like my moment. And I was like, people do this. Like this is a normal thing for producers to put these tracks together and just send off the stems and like, all right, do what you want to do with it. It's your song now. And that kind of spiraled into what is now Vigilante Productions. So like this is like everything that's in here has been like even down to the apartment has been afforded from what I do sitting at this desk, which is crazy to me. Absolutely crazy to me.
Just out of curiosity, when you move from one city to another, what's the farthest ways away that you've moved? Like from say Ohio to Florida, like what's the farthest? Kansas City. How many miles was that?
Yeah. I want to say about 640 or something like that.
But you're only 1 mile.
Yeah, there's just one of me.
At least your name isn't kilometers, you know?
No, that's my British brother, actually.
That's your British brother.
No, I mean, I'm Midwestern, man. I measure everything in hours, you know? It's like, it's about
hours, okay.
It's a 10.5-hour drive.
You know, it's the same thing for us here. We don't go by miles. We go by how long it takes you to get there. But have you ever heard of the king that was only 12 inches tall? He was a terrible king, but he was a great ruler.
So that's where that comes from, huh?
When Lily gets here, I'm telling her that, and she's going to scowl. She's going to scowl, and it's going to be hilarious.
Andrew's
that
got
is
the
what
dad
I'm here
jokes.
for. I live for those moments.
Oh man! And now you've delineated the entire history of the imperial system of measurement, and that's it.
Just out of curiosity, what is your first child's name going to be?
My first child's name? Nah, centimeters.
Going metric. I can appreciate that. Just get with the rest of the world.
I might just name him Celsius.
Go with another unit of measurement.
Yeah. Excellent.
Celsius.
Sorry, I had to. That was just something that was there. I had to exploit it, and I had to go with it.
I appreciate that so much.
Good.
Yep, that's why we pay Andrew the big bucks. That's his side hustle. His dad jokes.
Yeah, it's a good side hustle to have.
Yes, it pays really well. No, it doesn't.
The benefits.
Not as much as it should, but there are benefits. There are perks.
Benefits. The scowls and the angry looks you get from some people, that is priceless.
Oh, that would be the best.
The people who don't want to admit that they're laughing on the inside.
It's true.
They're only mad because they didn't think of it.
Right. What is the end game here? What are they going to say? Oh, terrible ruler or terrible king, great ruler.
We're going to be thinking about that on the drive home. Just, I should have thought of that.
Yep.
It's the best
okay,
ones.
sorry, carry on.
Yes.
All right. So, I am interested because you mentioned, working for Amazon, working for DoorDash, a couple of things where you don't need a whole lot of training to just kind of jump into, and you can jump in and out of it as you need to for touring. Do you have any stories from any of those that are just this is a terrible, terrible side hustle, and I will never do this again?
Ooh. Huh. Honestly, I haven't really done a job where I've been this is absolutely garbage. So Rogue Fitness, Columbus, Ohio. Not that it was a terrible, a side hustle. It was a good idea for a side hustle, and I got jacked while I was there. Because my only job, this is why it was terrible. My only job for 10 hours a day was packaging 45-pound plates. So it was just 10 hours to just lift that up, put it in a box, wrap that box, push it on the line. I was literally lifting for 10 hours a day. So it was good in that sense, but I didn't want to do anything when I came home. I would get off my shift and I would come home, I would eat, and I'd go shower and go right to bed. I didn't have any kind of a personal life because I just didn't feel like I just didn't want to. My body was just destroyed at the end of the day. So I was just I'm good on doing anything else. I'm going to lay down, I'm going to pass out, I'm going to watch an episode of The Office, and then I'm just going to zog.
Yeah, anything like that, it definitely takes a toll on you, and it's very hard to do anything beyond that. I've been in jobs where I've been working 12-hour shifts in a very labor-intensive, kind of field, and it doesn't do well if you want to go out and play a show that same night or something. You're just a local show.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah,
and
that's
then,
not a good time.
Get up at 5 a.m. the next day and do it all over again. So
actually, I got one that tops that. I do have one that tops that. Worked for a company called Labor Ready, who is just like, they're just kind of like, you show up in the morning and they just send you out to a job site. And one day they sent me out to work for waste management. So I got to ride on the back of a garbage truck all day. And I came home with maggots in my shoes.
The
So newfound respect. It was garbage.
Like rubbish.
Literally, it was garbage. Rubbish. No, literally, I just that one day on the job gave me like a new respect for trash guys. And I was just like, I will never do this again. So it was literally a trash job.
Yeah, that's terrible. So that would be your worst experiences. What about best experiences on a side hustle? We'll say pre-production, like before you got into the production and instrumentation realm. Your best experience in one of those side hustles.
Promo West. It's a production company back in Ohio, and I was just stagehand. Worked the big shows, and I mean that's how I met 21 Pilots, the 1975, Alice Cooper, and it wasn't even just like, hey, you guys get to meet the band. It was just like in passing, like I was sitting there packing something up backstage, and this guy walks up, hey, can you hand me that hat? And I turn around, and it's Alice Cooper. I'm like, oh yeah, man, here you go. Like literally, I'm just like sitting there, just like gloves and shorts, just passing him a top hat.
Were you guys in Milwaukee at the time, or as the Algonquins call it, Milwaukee?
Milwaukee. No, that was just straight up Columbus, and I did that I was doing that for 3 years, but I mean that was before I started doing the Saul thing. That was when I was still playing in local bands in Columbus. But I had my Amazon job like during the day, and then I would go work those Promo West gigs like on the weekends just for extra cash. And it was garbage pay, like it was trash pay. But I was like, I'm still working in the industry, and I'm shaking hands with these other people in the industry. And I was like, for me, that was kind of just like, this gives me a chance to like shadow the LDs, the guitar techs, the drum techs, and like get to know how they do it. And I'm just like, if I talk to enough of these people, maybe at one point they'll be like, I remember that guy from Columbus. I've got his number. We can bring him out because he knows what we're doing. And that was kind of like my mindset with that, because I was just trying to I was like, if I can't play in a professional sense yet, at least I could go work in one and build myself up that way.
Networking.
Yeah, networking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. And I think a lot of the larger cities have like unions that you can get on the roster of, and have these stagehand jobs and get yourself kind of into the industry. And I know of a couple of people who have used that as a side hustle, and it has become a little bit something more than that. And they realize, I don't like performing so much as helping the people that do, and kind of figuring out your spots where you fit in the best and what you really enjoy doing the most. And so I think anybody listening that might be interested in getting into doing stagehand kind of work in your local venues, definitely look into it, because that's a good way. The pay might not be great, but the networking opportunity is where it's at. So that's definitely great advice.
No one does stagehand work because they like the money.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. We were just talking with Brandon Johnson of Late Night Savior. He works at a venue in Salt Lake City, the Depot, and he's the stage manager. He's the stage manager there, but while he's on tour, they're very, very gracious and allow him to go on tour, and they actually take what he learns from going out on tour and apply it to their specific venue and what they can do to improve, for the audience or for the artists, and just make it a better experience all around. And, I think that's really cool. And he wouldn't have gotten there if he hadn't started from being a stagehand, working his way all the way up to the stage manager. So yeah, definitely a good thing to look into, I think. So yeah,
definitely.
Andrew, you got some more dad jokes for us?
Actually, I was thinking about it. You were talking about.
He's always got one primed and ready.
I did, but I was like, we were on a roll and I didn't want to stop right in the middle of it. But you were talking about, like being a stagehand and, a lot of hand things. And I was like, you ever hear about the blind prostitute? You had to hand it to her.
It was all hands on deck with that one. I said deck.
Was her name Handria?
Different Pamela Henderson.
Did you hear
Pamela
about
Henderson.
the That's good. Did you hear about the prostitute that had one leg that was shorter than the other? Her name was Eileen.
Oh man, you need to start a second podcast that's just like the collection of dad jokes.
Have you heard about the cow with no legs? Yeah, it's ground beef.
You guys are just giving me ammunition. I'm just going to sprinkle these over the evening.
Tomorrow you're going to roll out of bed and do what you do and just bam, shotgun blast of dad jokes out into the world.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes. Excellent.
Excellent. Yes.
Oh, man.
What will we call our first child?
Celsius. Not centigrade.
Yeah, that was what was in my mind when you guys were talking, and I was just like, I can't stop it for that. But hopefully, there will be a spot where I can be like, you remember when we were talking about that 10 minutes ago? Yeah, this is what I thought.
You gotta find a way to mix it in there somewhere.
Gotta hand it to her.
I've got one for you. This is going to be the only one I give you for this whole segment, but it's more of a statement than a joke. To the man in the wheelchair that stole my camo jacket, you can hide, but you can't run.
It's like my cousin, man. My cousin stole my antidepressants. I hope he's happy now.
I've heard that one before. That's a really good one. There's these two dudes on TikTok that I follow that like put out these like awesome dad jokes all the time, and I'm just like, I live for it.
The sad thing is I know the like majority of them just because it's my thing, it's just what I do. So,
yep.
He's doing the research every single day.
I do the research, and sometimes it just happens on accident. Like I took my boy over to help dig out a car, right? It snowed really hard the night before. And the person we were helping dig out was like, I'm so sorry that you're, out here doing this for me. And I was like, no, it's cool. He digs it.
He was probably just like, Dad.
Let's get this car.
That's exactly what he was like. But the other guy was rolling. That's the important part.
Yeah, that's what matters.
Yeah, you just got to keep on rolling, baby.
Just keep on rolling, baby. All right.
Okay, so I something that we ask a lot of people and that I'm curious about because of your touring experience. What is the craziest thing that has ever happened to you while on tour? The craziest tour experience?
Ooh, gosh, there've been plenty of crazy tour experiences. Well, on this recent tour, we almost died. So that was pretty crazy. We were driving from Ohio to Pittsburgh, and we were coming through Zanesville, Ohio on the highway, and we were coming around this turn in the left lane, and there was this white van that just was on their phone or something because they didn't even take the curve. They just right into the side of our bus. And Zach is such an incredible driver because our trailer went almost sideways at 65 miles an hour.
Oof.
It threw our photographer out of the bunk, rolled me out of my bunk, and like Zach, I don't know, to this day I don't know how he saved it because I was laying in my bunk when it happened in the back and didn't see anything. I just kind of felt it, and he was able to pull it. We pulled off the road. We had like this tiny little piece missing off of our. It like thankfully didn't do much damage to us. The other guys messed up, I'm sure, but he took off after he hit us. Just gunned it down the freeway. But to commemorate that, we all got tattoos. So if you see right here, we all have that bus, or we all have that van, and so like we were all like messing around, like just walking up to, like, have you seen this van? Looks like this. And there's actually, I don't know if you can see it. There's like a little chunk missing out of the front.
But, it's the details.
But that was kind of literally. We were just like, we need to get a tour tattoo to remember this tour. And when that happened, like a few days later, we were just like, we know what we're gonna get.
Yeah, that's quite a harrowing experience to go. There's nothing like being in a tour bus and having some sort of shit like that go down. It's insane, especially you know. I mean, there's like flat tires and stuff like that happen all of the time that you just kind of have to roll with or not roll with and get replaced before you can roll again. Andrew. I beat you to the punch.
I was like, how do you roll with a flat tire? It's like, it's okay though. I got good news and bad news. Only the bottom half is flat.
Yeah, getting a flat tire on the road is a pretty deflating thing to happen.
Oh, right. Yes. Gravity. What a downer.
What a downer. I'll give you a bonus story real quick. This actually happened on the Memphis Mayfire tour back in July. But we were ironically coming up to the last day of the tour in Memphis, and we were pulling off the highway, and all of a sudden we just lose all power to the rear wheels. And turns out we snapped the U-bolt on the back of the trailer, or the back of the bus. And so we're pulled off on the side of the road. We actually had a guy come from the venue with the SUV and take our trailer and three of us to the venue to start unloading everything and setting up. So we still made the show. Crazy thing was, 2 days later, we were supposed to be in Wisconsin for Rockfest from Memphis, which is a 12.5-hour drive, just about. Our bus was not going to be done in time. We couldn't find a rental, like van or anything. So what we did is we got 2 Ford F-150s. We put the trailer on one of them, and we put like the rest of the crew in the other one. And we drove after the show. So we stayed in the hotel overnight. The next day we got the vehicles. And we drove from about 5 p.m. when we got the vehicles till 6 in the morning the next day. Rolled into Rockfest at 6 a.m., got in there. I played that set. I think most of us played that set after being up for about 36 hours. So, but we still made the show, you know.
While being up for 36 hours and then putting on a show, and most of the people in that crowd probably had no idea what you guys had to go through in order to get there. That's very telling. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes, especially when it comes down to how the musicians make their money.
Yeah.
They're probably just looking at it and going, man, look at them. They all look tired and worn out. They probably spent the entire night partying with girls and stuff. And little do they know that you're like, you've been sweating for the past like 24 hours and no sleep. And you're trying to figure out what's going to happen next. And you're getting gray hairs. That's the reality.
Yeah. The last 2 miles before you make it to the venue, you're pushing the vehicle yourselves because it broke down again, you know, just to make it there. Jeez.
Oh my gosh. That's about what it was going to be like. We broke down a mile from the venue in Memphis. We were just like,
man, that's crazy.
Almost made it.
It's inevitable. It's going to happen.
It happens. But you guys pulled through, and that was the tail end of that leg of the tour with Red, right?
No, that was the tail end of the Memphis Mayfire tour with them and Norma Jean and Secrets.
Right. Yeah. And Memphis Mayfire is not from Memphis.
No, they're from Nashville. A lot of
people don't know that. They're from Nashville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a weird way to wrap up your tour if your first name is Memphis, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I mean, they wrapped it up. That was what I hated about it. Not that I hated about it. I was just jealous that they finished the tour an hour from home. I was
Yeah,
like,
it's very,
man,
very easy for them to get home after
Yeah.
that. They didn't have to drive 36 hours to a different show and then
exactly.
however many hours back home for everybody. I know you guys are spread out a little bit, and a lot of bands
Yep.
these days kind of are, just because you can do so much over the internet these days and keep up on your stuff. And yeah,
Absolutely.
it's a whole new age for musicians. I read something that said Jairus Johnson was talking about how a band doesn't really exist anymore. It's two people writing music and then, hiring people to fill out the spots, the different instruments when you have to go play a show or go on tour or something. And that's
pretty much.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, that's just kind of how it is in some bands, like you've got, and it's not necessarily a bad thing either, because like not every band has writers in the band, some people are really good at learning whatever gets written and they'll love playing it. And there's the guys that want to have input that are very good at writing. And thankfully, like in the band that I play in, it's pretty well spread out. Like we all like to equally put in what's going on, but I've definitely played in situations where it was just like, like Beartooth, for instance. Like Caleb Shomo pretty much writes and records 90% of all the Beartooth songs. So like it kind of happens. Like if you're really good at it and it's selling records, keep going, And then with that, like he's I don't know like how their splits work and everything, but I'm sure he is making a crap load of money doing
he's
that.
A very talented guy.
Yeah,
but as for
all he has to pay out his performance credits, So
yep, that's where it's at. As for your band, though, you guys all write as equals.
Yep, pretty much.
For anybody who's familiar with Saul, you will understand that. Andrew, I think I went over it. I'm sorry, that was a bad one. I'll punish myself later.
Is it a song?
No, we call our fans our equals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's kind of our thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a great mindset to have too, because a lot of times bands don't even treat other bands as equals, and it creates a lot of problems, a lot of drama when you can just be humble and recognize other people are playing music for a lot of the same reasons that you are, and why should they be treated differently? Oh, we're starting with the beef on the podcast.
I just had to throw that out there.
Yeah, definitely.
No, like you're absolutely right, man. Absolutely right. It makes a ton of difference when you can roll into a venue and like have have a mutual understanding across the board on like how everyone conducts themselves. Like everyone knows what's expected. Everyone's like holding to their set times. They're getting on and off stage real quickly. Like it's when every band works in tandem like a touring band, like a professional touring band, then like those are the best shows. All the way around, they're the best shows.
Yep, everybody pulling their weight.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when it really comes together and becomes something a little bit more than just your standard guitar player getting drunk and playing a show in front of people just to satisfy himself. Yep,
as bands do.
As bands do. Those guys don't get very far though. So, the cream rises to the top, as they say. And, that's the people who work hard. And that's the people who do anything that they can to make it happen. So, at this point, we'd like to talk a little bit about your studio, your productions, if you want to let anybody know about the services that you offer. I know that I have gladly taken advantage of them several times because you're awesome. You're very incredibly talented. And so, you want to speak to that a little bit? Yeah,
no, man, it's been a pleasure working with you, man. You're an awesome dude, an awesome client. All the songs have come out super freaking sick. Especially that like EP that we worked on, that was sick. But I've got my Vigilante Production studio here. If I could pull my laptop around and show you everything, I would. But I do production all the way from just like giving you like some riff ideas all the way up to writing out the entire track with you to completely finishing it and mixing and mastering it and giving you a final product. I'm working with a band called Seven out of Louisiana right now doing their whole album.
With 3 V's, right?
With 3 V's, yep.
Yes,
yep.
7. Familiar.
Yeah,
they're
they've been
incredible.
They've been awesome. I've actually got a track I have to work on starting next week that they just hired me to do that we're adding on to the album. So, but no, I don't really. I'm really bad at like talking about myself, like in the word sense. But no, like if you hit me up and you want to work on some music and make some really cool tracks, like that's what I do. Like I don't really specialize in any certain genres. Like I love writing metal, I love writing heavy music, but I've worked on pop, I've worked on EDM. I did an EDM remix album for a church. I've done country tracks. Yeah, I've done country tracks, done indie tracks, alternative stuff, mixed all those types of bands, hardcore tracks. Like I've worked on a little bit of everything, but I do kind of have my roots in the heavier genres and kind of pop punk in those areas because I know how it sounds to me and I know how I like it to sound. So it's not really I have to learn how to mix a certain genre. I just already kind of know how to do it. So, but yeah, anything where I get to be creative, I love doing it. I don't like people who are just like, well, I'm not gonna say I don't like them, but like I prefer to work on projects where I get to like have some creative control, you know, because that's where I'm just like, all right, I get to kind of throw my flavor on this, and it's not just me reading from a sheet on how you want this to sound. Like if you're hiring me, I want you to hire me because you want it to sound like what I put out. You know, I don't want to be like, hey, we want you to make this sound like a Joel Wanasek mix. Okay, then hire Joel Wanasek.
Not a lot of people can afford that though. He's the top of his game.
Top of his game, but yeah, and that's what I kind of try to explain when people kind of come to me and they want my mixes to sound like someone else's mixes. Like I'm not going to be able to do that too well because I'm not them. You know, like I can try to get close, but it's not going to sound like that because, you know, I've got an interface and some plugins. I don't have, you know, $100,000 of outboard gear.
Yeah, you can't take that on the road with you. So why have it?
No, I've got plugins and like these things have been like game changers. These Slate VSX headphones, like they model a bunch of different rooms. Like I can do a car test sitting here. Pretty much, I can see what they sound like on a boombox. I can hear it in like a concert venue. Like it's pretty crazy. They got the near rooms, the far rooms, like the mids and the speakers. Like it's pretty crazy. But so I mean that helps with all that. But like, anyways, yeah, this is what I do. This is what I do. Like I love writing music. I love being creative. So if you want to get that done, that sounds like what's something you want to do, then let's do it.
Yeah. And anybody that's looking for that kind of work and needs a helping hand would definitely point you in Myles' direction. We're going to link your stuff in the show description. So everybody can find it there. And yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about, promote before we wrap things up?
Oh, just the fact that we're going back out on the road with our dudes in red next month again on the 3rd. We're going to be hitting pretty much everywhere from Michigan all the way down to Texas and over to Florida. And I believe the tour ends in Atlanta. So if you're anywhere near those dates, check out Saul Band Official, the website, just Saul Band on any of the socials, you know, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, to check out all the tour dates. You can find them on Red's page as well. But I look forward to seeing you at a show.
Excellent. Yeah, I know I'm going to be at the Dallas one, like I mentioned. Yeah. Thick. So anybody who's nearby any one of those tour spots, definitely go check it out. You will not be disappointed. And so, yeah, at this point, I am going to ask Andrew to give you our final question.
The final question is the most important question.
It is. Don't mess
the
it up.
question that is at the top of everybody's list that they want to know. You know, curious minds really want to know this, especially about you, Myles.
Oh.
Pancakes or waffles?
Oh, waffles.
Yes.
Dude, easy question. Dude,
I know, right?
Little syrup pockets, dude. Come on.
Exactly. Yes.
Syrup pockets.
Little syrup cups that are all symmetrical. Yeah.
Waffles are good for the OCD brain, you know, because they're just little boxes, nice little squares, and I'm just like,
you can fill each one of them individually, or you can make a design if you wanted to.
That's what it is. It's like ASMR, you know.
Yeah.
So you just watch the syrup just slowly fill up all the pockets. It's just
that's a good idea for a side hustle.
WSMR.
Breakfast ASMR.
Waffle ASMR.
Oh,
perfect.
Yeah.
No, I've never seen chicken and pancakes, so I mean,
that's the truth.
It doesn't roll off the tongue.
No,
truth.
You're definitely right there. Chicken and waffles is where it's at, and I think most people kind of agree that. But we're gonna put a poll in the Spotify of this particular episode, so everybody can tell us whether they prefer waffles or pancakes. And if you prefer waffles, you can tell us why. If you prefer pancakes, you can explain why you're wrong. And just go from there. But yeah, Myles, thank you so much for being on the show with us. We really, really appreciate it. We were very interested in the insight that you had to share with everybody, and just how you kind of rose up from all of those smaller side hustle jobs into working music as your day job. So, definitely a lot of teachable moments that we can pass on to our viewers and anybody interested in making music their livelihood. So once again, thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, thank you. And
thank you.
Appreciate you being such a good, person to deal with all of my crap. all of my funny little dad jokes, it's like, these could possibly piss somebody off, but you've been a really good sport.
Yeah.
No, I really appreciate you guys having me on. This has been an incredible end to my Friday evening, and my first real interaction with people all day. So this has been nice.
Excellent. So thanks again for being on. And until next time, this is the Gig Money Podcast. I am Cody,
and I'm Andrew,
and we'll see you guys next time.
hustling.